Hello, subscribers, watchers, and everyone else who's tuning in. Just wanted to break down something I noticed in modern culture. Something that I believe is ruining a lot of what we enjoy in modern culture, and that is the oversaturation in society. Here's what I mean. I can't remember where I heard this, but I keep hearing this every so often, and it speaks very plainly to what I'm talking about. But it's the quote that goes, "The star that burns twice as brightly will burn half as long." Social media, literature, film, communication, etc., they all seem to be increasing in frequency but falling in quality. It seems like whether it's Tell Lies to My Vision, which I don't watch anymore, wrestling, pro wrestling, films, music, etc., everything seems to be getting more expensive, lower in quality, higher in frequency of releases. And when I say lower in quality, I mean it's like it doesn't seem like it's going towards that true essence of what it's supposed to be anymore, like it used to. So yeah, things may be flashier and shinier, and they may sound nicer in a technical way, but there's something kind of missing in terms of the true essence of making art. But yeah, higher frequency of releases. A lot of things that are coming out now feel very rushed and or scrambled in terms of the storyline. More and more things that are being produced in entertainment seem to be lacking creativity. Social media seems to have destroyed our attention spans, etc. Let me break each one of those down. More expensive. When I say it's more expensive, it seems like to me certain things in entertainment seem to be getting more and more expensive. Maybe it's the inflation, but it also seems like it's also the bad economy. If people don't feel confident in purchasing things, they purchase less. If they purchase less of whatever that product is, then businesses may have to raise prices or decrease the package size or both. Or they have to lay off workers or pay them less in order to maintain their profit margins. Unfortunately, this reduces the amount of people that can purchase the product in an economy, and it still turns people away from the product overall. Lower in quality. As stated earlier, the product is either slightly more expensive or smaller in size or weight. It also may be comprised of much cheaper and flimsier materials, so ultimately we're paying the same price for an ever decreasing quality. This is noticed the most in the food and maybe also in the clothing industry. The higher frequency of releases. If anybody remembers when they were younger and they fell in love with the WWF, what's now called the WWE, it seemed like, I could be wrong on this, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like they used to have Raw and SmackDown on Mondays and Thursdays for either 1 or 2 hours each. Along with the awesome pay-per-views, that's how it seemed like back then when I was younger. Now, Monday Night Raw, if I'm reading this correctly, is 3 hours, which is way too long. And it seems like they have a pay-per-view about once a month. Again, one word, oversaturation. This business model, the older business model seems better. But hold on, I might miss my spot. Oh no, some people may believe that this new business model of oversaturating is the better way to do it. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's correct. More does not equal better. It just means long, drawn out, and eventually very boring. And I'm reading the forums about the WWE and what's happening with a lot of their programming. A lot of people are saying constantly that they're really overdoing it and that it's getting very long, oversaturated, and boring. And the WWE is just an example of this. The film industry seems to be doing the same thing, where a growing number of people seem to be voicing their disapproval of things that are just being bombarded at them over and over. Dozens of films are produced and churned out every week, so Psychologically, it seems that each film that's released has less and less of an impact on the viewing public. When 10 movies are premiering in 1 week, why go out of your way to watch them in theaters when they'll be online in a few weeks later? Ready to watch whenever you want. So it's easier access to get to the movies, and there's more of them being. I think I read somewhere there's like almost 600 movies produced in 1 year. I'm gonna see if I can link to that, but that's insane. Another thing that's wrong. A lot of things that are coming out seem like they're getting rushed and scrambled. Now, this isn't the frequency of them coming out. This is how they're being produced. Products of entertainment seem like they're getting more and more streamlined. More outsourcing, more computers, and more mass production in styles and techniques. More auto-tune, more management, more marketing. Seems to be going into production of games, films, sports, entertainment, etc. Because of this assembly line mentality, it just seems like less and less people are focusing on giving us a story, something we can immerse ourselves in mentally or emotionally. Our eyes and ears are drowning in different realities, but our spirits remain aching for a story. Where was the story behind all the loud noise, the overused dubstep sounding music, and the flashiness? You could put all that in there as much as you want. It still needs to be a story that like moves the inner being, and it's like we're missing that. What seems to be missing from the finished product, from the product that is getting streamlined and mass produced and is getting increasingly flashier, is the soul. Today's entertainment reminds me of The Wizard of Oz, a mismatch of different entities that can get along except they're missing a brain, some courage, a heart, and a soul. And no amount of CGI or mass production or streamlined studio effects or streamlined audio is going to make up for this more sentient essence that's missing from modern cinema or entertainment industry in general. Hopefully this makes sense. A lack of creativity. Because of the streamlining of production, certain things tend to occur. The people putting this together can afford to be less talented. Everything that's being created starts to look more and more similar. A good example is how everything is getting more and more CGI looking, so you don't have that unique style in, say, animation. Whereas 2D animation, when you saw a 2D animated series, you almost could tell what style that was. You could almost tell what studio made that or who was the main animator that drew that. Today, it's harder to do that since everything looks way more similar. So, the people who develop the unique ways of telling a story or writing a song are marginalized ever more because their unique way of doing things is either too financially risky for studios, considered outdated, which to me makes no sense, or it's seen as too expensive compared to the more streamlined CGI heavy way that things are being done now. So it feels like there's either less of them or a lot of the 2D animators are still out there, but they're just not getting used as much as they used to, which is unfortunate. And this is a big one. Social media like Twitter and Instagram and all these other stupid websites that I don't use, they're damaging people's attention spans. I'm convinced of that. People watch shorter YouTube videos. People use Twitter too much. People still play with Facebook, apparently. And many folks are addicted to sites like Instagram and apps like Tinder and whatever other stupid brain-crushing garbage is out there. Major film studios are tailoring their product, music studios too. They're tailoring their products to the new generation of people who read paragraphs instead of books. A population of people that watches Vines instead of plays. A population of people that is increasingly liking bright colors, goofy sounds, and lots of explosions. The more cerebral, the more disinterested they seem to be. As in, if you put more thought in actual awesomeness on a cerebral or intellectual level into what you're creating, that apparently turns off a lot of people. They don't have the patience for it. They don't have the mental stamina for it. They just seem to turn themselves off to it. Unless it's really short, flashy, explosive, has less syllables, etc. Which is disappointing. So either the audience is getting dumber with shorter attention spans, the filmmakers are getting lazier in terms of telling the story, so they dumb everything down, or it's a little bit of both. Me personally, I need a story. I want the complex arcs. I want the interesting characters. I want a good build-up, and some explosive, more intense stuff every so often can be good, but only when it's needed and when it helps tell the story overall. Attack on Titan would be a good example of a more recent thing that's doing this in a relatively good way. Good story with some explosive stuff every so often that helps tell the story. That I like. Unfortunately, a lot of the new stuff out there is not on the level of Attack on Titan. So, yeah. Now, do I think it can stay this way? Do I think it's going to continue to be this way? Maybe not. Maybe if certain changes were made, it could get better. Here's what I think can be done to make changes. One major thing I think a lot of creators should do is go old school. This might simultaneously reignite more diverse ways of producing a particular effect or scene in entertainment. Use actual fireworks, electric sparks, puppets, sets, models, and innovative camera tricks that were used for decades successfully in very good movies. This might actually be cheaper than CGI, and it might give the audience a more physical feel for what's happening. Jim Henson's puppetry still has a unique, awesome quality to it that even the best CGI, to me, doesn't seem to emulate. Some CGI can emulate it, but not much. And I know it's the CGI that does emulate the type of effect that Jim Henson's puppetry did. That is three-dimensional puppetry that's doing that. So just think about that. But yeah, I would love to see a resurgence of just animatronic puppetry in the film. That would be awesome. Another thing, produce less. Actually tone down the amount that's being put out there. Stop churning stuff out. Less is more, literally. Reduce the frequency of the thing that's being produced. As this is done, people will pay more attention to what's being produced. They'll value it more since there's now receiving a lot less of it. Things of high value are rare. Things of low value are numerous. This should be common sense. If we want music or movies or clothes to become awesome again, the one thing that will help is to actually produce less, not more. Take risks. Become more choosy about what's going to be produced, but also be willing to go for something out of the ordinary. There's far too many stories and ideas out there that never get any recognition. Scout around the web and hook up with everyday people who have their own story, rather than recycling the cliches that have gotten stuck in the modern cinema. Something with underground music, something with underground film, etc. Create alternative networks. If you think you can get away with this, I would say divorce yourself from the mainstream entirely. Use web resources to create a parallel network that challenges the big corporations or the big movie studios or the big music studios when it comes to creating what you want to create while being on a smaller budget. And this is actually quite easy nowadays because of the infrastructure. Sites like Newgrounds, I love Newgrounds, I might link to it. Sites like SoundCloud, sites like YouTube. That's what comes to mind when it comes to creating your own alternative media outlet outside of the big giant multi-million-dollar studios and corporations. And last but definitely not least, please focus on the story. Draw the story out for a while, and do it in such a way that the audience can get hooked for a prolonged length of time. It might work better than one would assume. I'm pretty sure there's still that pretty hardcore population of people that we're not really drawn in all the way by the flashy stuff, the loud stuff, the oversimplified, dumb, non-cerebral stuff. No, we don't want all that. We do want the story, and we need people to come out there and make stories. There really does seem to be a hunger out there for the true originality. If it is fed to the public, whoever produces what those people truly want can and will be rewarded greatly. And that's what I have to say about the oversaturation of society. We're being oversaturated with lower quality junk. I say we need to find some type of renaissance or revolution when it comes to creating something that people want to consume. In the entertainment industry, at least. And that's all I got to say about that. And I'm out. Stay tuned for more uploads. Please like, subscribe, and share. And thanks for listening. Peace.